Hello, welcome to Health Bites. Today we're going to talk about popular diets, and there are many popular diets out there. I am reminded of a Lockhorns cartoon where Loretta is drinking a diet shake and she tells Leroy, her husband, "These diet shakes aren't too bad if you add some ice cream and a little chocolate syrup." There are so many diets out there, like I mentioned. It can be very confusing to weed through all of them. You have the Atkins diet, Weight Watchers, Slim Fast, Jenny Craig, South Beach diet, The Zone, Grapefruit diet, just to mention a few. But there are some things that we can look for to determine whether it's good advice or whether it's just another fad diet. So the following characteristics should raise up some red flags. Recommendations that promise a quick fix. Dire warnings of dangers from a single product or regimen. Claims that sound too good to be true. Simplistic conclusions drawn from a complex study. Recommendations based on one single study. Dramatic statements that are refuted by reputable scientific organizations. Lists of good and bad foods, and recommendations made to help sell a product. Recommendations based on studies published without review by other researchers. Recommendations from studies that ignore differences among individuals or groups, and eliminating one or more of the 5 food groups. So these things should raise up some red flags. Well, to determine whether if a diet recommendation is sound, you can ask yourself the following questions. And if your answer is yes, chances are it is good advice. Is there a registered dietitian involved in the study or in the diet? Does it promise slow weight loss of 1 to 2 pounds weekly? Does it allow you to eat foods from all the food groups? Does it encourage permanent behavior change and exercise? Well, most fad diets usually lack major nutrients such as dietary fiber, carbohydrates, some vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals and antioxidants. These are substances that are found in plant foods which are protective against disease. For the food groups that these diets permit, the portions are either well above or well below those recommended by major health organizations, such as the American Heart Association, American Dietetic Association, American Cancer Society, the Surgeon General, and others like the World Health Organization. And the saddest thing is that these diets offer only a temporary solution to a lifelong problem. Weight is regained once the diet is stopped, and they don't teach you to eat correctly. Everywhere you look, you are bombarded with popular diets. We are all very familiar or aware of the carbohydrate-friendly diets or menus out there. And if you think about it, it should be carbohydrate-unfriendly menus. But what really makes you fat? Is it carbohydrates? Is it fat? Is it protein? Well, today I want to take a closer look at the high-protein, low-carbohydrate diet. In these diets, 30 to 50% of calories come from protein. So that means that for a typical 2,000 calorie diet a day, this would mean 150 to 250 grams of protein per day, while reputable health organizations recommend only 50 to 75 grams of protein per day, or 10 to 15% of calories coming from protein. Well, have you ever wondered how much protein do you need a day? The recommended dietary allowance for protein is 0.8 grams per kilograms of body weight. So you would take your body weight in pounds and you divide it by 2.2 to get your kilograms. For example, if you weigh 150 pounds, you divide that by 2.2, and that would mean you weigh 68.2 kilograms. So now you can multiply that by 0.8 grams of protein, and that means that you would need 55 grams of protein a day. More general recommendations are about 46 grams of protein a day for women and about 52 to 56 grams of protein a day for men. But the typical American consumes about 100 grams of protein a day. The average person eating an American diet is eating twice the recommended amount and often more. Just 3 meals of these commonly eaten foods that you see on the screen contain over 180 grams of protein. Well, the high protein diet is, of course, very low in carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the sugars, starches, and fibers found in fruits, vegetables, grains, and milk products. They supply energy to the body in the form of glucose. Glucose is the only energy source for the red blood cells and the preferred energy source for the brain and the central nervous system. So when you eliminate or severely limit the carbohydrates, your body goes into ketosis. Ketosis is an abnormal body process that occurs during starvation due to lack of carbohydrates. In that state, your body burns fat for fuel, and then you feel less hungry and you eat less. Wow, well, there's a reason why these diets are so popular. Why is this diet so popular? Number one, less carbohydrate equals less calories. When you cut your carbohydrates out, you tend to cut a lot of calories out. If you cut out cookies, ice cream, cake, milk, fruit, cereal, donuts, you're going to have a huge calorie deficit and you're going to lose weight. And the other reason why these diets are so popular is that water loss equals pounds off. So carbohydrates hold water. Carbohydrates are stored as glycogen in your muscles and your liver, and 1 molecule of glycogen has 3 molecules of water. So there's a lot of water in the cells, and when you go on a low carbohydrate diet, you use up your carbohydrate stores, and therefore pounds of water are lost in your urine. But these diets are not without side effects. In the short term, you can have fatigue, constipation, nausea, vomiting. In the long term, you may be dealing with heart disease, bone loss, and kidney damage. Other health risks include kidney failure. Of course, too much protein puts a strain on the kidneys. Another risk is high cholesterol. It is well known that high protein diets consisting of red meats, whole dairy products, and other high fat foods are linked to high cholesterol. Another risk is osteoporosis and kidney stones. Diets high in protein, they cause more calcium to be withdrawn from the bones and excreted through the urines, and this is going to put you at a greater risk for osteoporosis and the formation of kidney stones. Another risk is cancer. You know, by avoiding carbohydrate-containing foods, you miss out on vitamins, minerals, fiber, and antioxidants, all that are very important in protecting you against cancer. Another risk is gout. Excessive protein consumption increases the production of uric acid, which often results in painful inflammation of the joints. Also, you can suffer decreased endurance. So high protein diets actually decrease endurance. Today's athletes load up on complex carbohydrates rather than protein for maximum energy and performance. And of course, you can go into that unhealthy metabolic state called ketosis. Now, there was a study in which they took about 132 people and they randomly assigned them to a low carbohydrate diet or a conventional low calorie, low fat diet for 1 year. And what happened? Well, the weight loss occurred more rapidly on the low carbohydrate diet, but at 1 year, there was no significant difference between the two groups. There was only about a 4-pound difference. And data suggests that the weight loss difference might have been explained just by the lower caloric intake on the low carbohydrate diet. So some healthier recommendations to keep in mind is to follow a lower calorie diet, which limits or avoids refined carbohydrates, but includes healthy carbohydrates such as whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. What works? Lifestyle changes, exercise, proper diet, and moderate portions. Well, we know what does not work. As one obesity researcher said, if diets worked, there would be a bunch of skinny people walking around. So, the key message is that your main motivation should be a healthier lifestyle, not the number of pounds. Your goal is not simply weight loss, but health gains. The real value of a diet is determined by its ability to maintain weight loss and support good health in the long term. You can go to the internet and find some heated debates among those who support and those who oppose the high-protein, low-carbohydrate diets. And you may wonder, which one is right? Fortunately, we have a more reliable place to go to, the Bible. Let's look briefly at the Creator's diet, the way God originally intended for us to eat, and see how it compares to some of the popular diets around today. In Genesis 1:29, we find it says, "And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat," or for food. So when we take the Creator's diet and we look at the average carbohydrate content of, say, about around 200 different fruits and vegetables and grains and beans, we find that the average carbohydrate content is 78%. Even when you add nuts and seeds, which are high in protein, the average carbohydrate content is about 60%. So it is a high carbohydrate diet. Well, the initial phase of some of these popular diets around today suggest less than 10 to 15% of carbohydrates. So there is a big difference between the Creator's diet and popular diets around. When comparing the high-protein, low-carbohydrate diet to the original diet given in Eden, it reminded me of a story that's found in Numbers 11. Moses had led the people out of Egypt, and God had given them manna to eat. So we're going to pick up the story in Numbers 11, verse 4. "And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat? But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. And the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it and ground it in mills or beat it in a mortar and baked it in pans and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Then Moses heard the people weep throughout their families. And the anger of the Lord was kindled greatly. Moses also was displeased. For ye have wept in the ears of the Lord, saying, Who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you flesh, and ye shall eat. Ye shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month, until it come out at your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that ye have despised the Lord which is among you. And there went forth a wind from the Lord, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth. And the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. He that gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, ere it was chewed, the wrath of the Lord was kindled against the people. And the Lord smote the people with a very great plague. And he called the name of that place Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people that lost it. I want you to notice that this was a high protein, low carbohydrate diet that the Israelites were asking for. We should be very careful not to despise what God has intended for us to eat and lust after that which is not good for us. I know that we are all very thankful for all the good food that God has provided, and we trust that as our Creator, He knows what is best for us. So until next time, friends, may you live longer, happier, and healthier the way your Creator intended it.